Alright everyone, welcome to another Mass Space video. This is our fourth video in this installment of the series, and today we're going to be going over Perfect Block. I have Naga and Eunice here to help me. This is one video in the basics video section that I think is actually going to be really helpful to both veteran and newer players alike. Because first of all, Perfect Block is absolutely essential for any player to know in Hero Assault, um, regardless of whether you're playing no Force or Force. And second, there's been some recent discoveries within the community as to how Perfect Block's mechanics actually do work. So this is going to be a good one. Anyway, so let's explain what Perfect Block exactly is to start off. And perfect blocking is just essentially being able to block saber hits, because normally you can block pushes, lightning, blasters, all that stuff with your block, but in this game you have to be facing a certain direction in order to block saber hits like this. So you see I hit him there, but if he looks another direction, I don't hit him. And then this applies to, he can be facing any direction, or sorry, I can be attacking him from any direction if he's looking towards my perfect block angle. He's not going to take damage. And also, I just wanted to shout out a couple people quick. I wanted to shout out Sith Academy for, first of all, they were the ones that kind of started working with Deflect Angles. So they were the ones that kind of led me to think about this in how it like would deal with Perfect Block. And I'd also like to thank Sketch, Will, and Naga for all helping me discover this theory. And I'd like to thank Naga for
No
making
problem.
this beautiful graphic that you see on your screen right now. That's going to help explain what exactly this theory means. So Naga, do you want to talk a little bit about your graphic here?
Sure, yeah. I mean, honestly, part of the motivation for this has been it's been such a complicated process just to understand over these like 10 years how a simple mechanic like blocking attacks works, you know. And I honestly didn't really understand this whole process until we started like trying to develop mods for the game, and Seville in our community as well as William, you know, would tell us things about, you know, the deflect angles and, you know, how the values of the game were kind of what interpreted how block actually worked. While in the past we were just really hoping that we looked in a certain direction, you know, in our head we thought we would just like draw lines on the map, and you know, maybe if you looked at a certain building you'd have a successful angle. But really, you know, what we finally come to discover here is that all of that is kind of just thrown out the window, and it's kind of all arbitrary, when really the only thing that matters, and which is kind of displayed on our graphic here, is that if you're looking towards the center of the map and in front of your character there's a cone. If you would imagine it, by if you have the default minimap, you have like a fog of war where your arrow only shows a certain amount of space on your screen. If you open your full screen map, you know, it'll have an arc in front of you as well. So that's kind of a display that isn't necessarily accurate to the angles here, but it's to show that in front of your character, you always have a certain amount of leeway to decide what is a perfect block and what is not a perfect block. And it isn't your position on the map, it isn't where you're looking at. It is really your reticule, which is your crosshair. So once you push block, you know, if Bolt pushes block right now, if you're seeing his screen or if you're seeing our screen,
I'm
we'll
on the
eventually.
graphic.
Okay. Well, once Bolt pushes block, or once we show that, you'll be able to see our crosshair, and wherever you aim that in vicinity to the center of the map, which would be uh, the star on the graphic here, uh, that will secure your perfect block. So to describe the actual angles here, which you see on the right side with these, you know, protractors, which may look complicated, but really it's not. In game, like if you were to, you know, strip everything away and just have this in numbers, uh, the values for block would be negative 60 degrees and positive 60 degrees. So, two numbers and a comma, which would just mean that in two directions, clockwise and counterclockwise, you'll have, successful block. So it isn't looking at a specific point or being on a line or looking at a point on the map. It's just in that arc of view where you are where you're angled in vicinity to the actual center of the map.
Yeah, so
So
essentially you just have to be that cone in front of you just has to line up the center of the map has to be somewhere within that cone. That's all it
right,
is.
as simple as that. Yeah. So to talk about like the actual, I have the players located on the map here. To start with the green arc here, which would be most of the hero characters. They have a 110 angled degree in front of them on either side, which kind of gives them where they can block attacks even that aren't even on their screen, that aren't in their field of view. While the Ayla, Asajj, Dooku, and Mole and Vader, they can't do that. They have a very narrow field of vision where they have successful perfect blocks. So that's why this green arc here kind of covers the entire map, really, almost half the map it seems, just where it's located. Because another thing I learned while looking through this that may harken back to our like middle school geometry or something like that would be that rays go on forever. So since this is just an arc in front of us and in front of the character, it isn't necessary for you to be closer or farther unless you're trying to secure a wider perfect block. So that's why Luke Skywalker, for example, if he was this green character, if he was to stand on the cantina and barely look, he probably wouldn't even see the center of the map where he's standing right now on his screen, but he would still have perfect block because he's so far away from the center, and his rays from his perfect block extend so far out on the map that a character like Maul, who is in this example would be the player that's closest to the center of the map, closest to the star on the map here, he is right next to the actual center of the map, but yet his likelihood of getting a successful perfect block is a lot narrower, because of where he's standing, because his rays aren't descending as far from those 60 degrees. So it isn't necessarily that your location changes your success for block, but if it's simple math that if you're closer to the point that you're trying to be an angle to, you're going to have a harder time being successful there.
Yep. So essentially, the farther away you are from the map, with the easier it is to perfect block. Like, especially with heroes characters, just because that angle is so ridiculous. And as Naga was saying, as you can see on this graph, the angle, it rays extend so far out and so wide from each of the heroes characters, minus Ayla, of course.
Yeah.
And of course Anakin's lumped into that group. This Obi-Wan is going to represent where the center of the map is right here. So
let me get my infinite block here.
Okay.
All right, there we go.
So as you can see, if Naga's looking within that 110 degree angle on either side of his character, that cone in front of him, he's gonna get that.
And I'll say at this point, Eunice isn't even on my screen right now.
You can see that 110 degree angle. You'll see it like when we get to the edge of the perfect block. Keep going. Keep going. There we go. So it was about. So if I extend myself straight out this way, you can see it's about that's 110 degrees right there, and Naga's gonna have that range on either side of his character. So if you go swoop around to the other side.
Oh, yeah. I was gonna say I have to get this right. Yeah.
Again, that's about 110 degrees from the point of which when he stopped getting perfect block there. Then we're gonna do the same thing for Vader. This block applies to Vader, Maul, Dooku, and Patch Jayla. So this does not apply to Vanilla, only Patch Jayla. And you can see as you're gonna be able to see his
And Asajj, by the way.
and Asajj. Thank you, Eunice. His block. Wait, let me get infinite block.
Alright.
His block range is gonna be significantly lower than Luke. Okay.
And it's also good to point out that you can see that he's having successful perfect block here because he's getting those sparks when our sabers are clashing there.
Yep.
And as soon as he doesn't have perfect blocks,
Okay, so as you can see, that's about 60 degrees this way. And now we're gonna go the other way. Okay, the same thing. So next we're gonna talk about center dashing, also known as like perfect block dashing, I guess you could call it. So if you guys didn't know, Obi-Wan, Anakin, of course Kylo Ren, and Vanilla Ayla all have perfect blocks on their dash attacks. If your cone is obviously facing towards the center. With Obi and Anakin, their deflect angles on their dash attacks are the exact same as the regular blocks, so that cone you're looking at when you're dash attacking is going to be the exact same as your normal block. However, with Ayla, if you're playing on vanilla, this especially applies to no force players. She actually has a 140 degree deflect angle, which is absolutely insane. So on either side of her, she has 140 degrees that she's available to perfect block, which means she can get some crazy center dashes off that you wouldn't think would normally be possible. And if you think about it, if she has a 140 degree angle on each side, that adds up to 280 degrees, which is just 80 degrees off 360. So you can get perfect blocks at almost any point in the map if you're using her dash attack correctly. So let's just show that quick. I'm gonna dash attack, and so my cone, try to attack me just while I'm dash attacking.
Oh, okay.
As you see, I get the block there. I'm a face with my cone this way. And as you can see, we both block each other. Grievous has the exact same deflect angle on his dash attack as normal Jedi, so it's going to be that 110 degrees on each side. Shoot. And you can see I get those perfect blocks both those times there. Deflect angles also apply to where you can get pushed from. So even when you're not facing, so this doesn't really apply to perfect block, but this just applies to, like I said, the angles where you can get pushed from. So on Darth or Maul, Asajj, Vader, Dooku, and then Patch Jayla, they all have deflect angles of 60 degrees on each side, which we've gone over. So those also apply. So if the enemy is outside of that angle, or outside of your cone, they're going to be able to push you. So, as you can see with Obi, I can almost push him to where I'm behind him because of his 110 degree deflect angle on that side. And the same applies for the other side. Keep in mind, you do not have to be looking at perfect block to block pushes. So this applies to wherever you are on the map, or wherever you're facing. With Maul, with his 60 degree deflect angle, you can see that it's going to be easier to push him from the side. You can see right when I get to the side of him, I can push him pretty much. Then do it to me, just so they can see it on my screen. panicking. You can see I can block pushes way out there. Oh, my block dropped.
I also noticed there when I hit you, you still have perfect block. But if I would have pushed there, like if you're behind someone and you hit them, you'll have perfect block. But if I push, you won't have perfect block.
Right. See, he's not even on my screen right now, and I'm still blocking his pushes.
Yeah.
And then when he gets way behind me, that's when he can push me.
Yep.
Or not way behind me, but definitely a lot more behind than you have to get for Maul and Vader.
Yeah. As soon as you can see their back, pretty much, is when you'll have the push.